You hear us? Oh,
Oh, look at that mug. Turn it off. Turn it off. Oh, God.
Blue Dog Radio. Get out there and blast, or whatever. I don't care.
Well, so today on the Blue Dog Blasting podcast, we've got Larry from Kennametal. A little bit about Kennametal from me, which is going to be a very short little blurb. They make our sandblasting nozzles. So they are here in the United States. So a lot of times there might even be one or two of you guys that are listening that I've said, oh man, I just sold the last one. I'll drop ship one to you. And you get it like 2 days later. It's because they're here in the U.S. They're up in Michigan, Traverse City, Michigan. They do a whole bunch of other stuff as well, like drill bits, milling bits, carbide saws, tons of crap. They're in all sorts of different industries, aerospace, manufacturing, engineering, all that fun stuff. But today we have the honor, the true honor of Larry, the godfather of Kennametal nozzles, to speak with us. And we're going to go over a couple things, but in part, basically the XL nozzle. Now, this is the XL nozzle podcast. So let's talk directly with the manufacturer. Larry, tell us a little bit something about you and or Kennametal.
Well, thanks, Sean. You're right. We manufacture these nozzles in Traverse City, Michigan, northern Michigan. I've been at this facility for 38 and a half years. So I've been in the blast nozzle business for quite a while. It's a great industry. And as you mentioned, Kennametal is in, they are in a lot of different industries. Our factory in northern Michigan is specifically designed for manufacturing abrasive flow control products, sandblast nozzles being one of those. We also are a manufacturer of abrasive water jet nozzles, and then we get into some specialty applications as well as like fracking, atomization, things of that nature. So, but as you indicated, this is the XL Performance Nozzle podcast. So let's talk XL Performance Nozzles.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So we'll just jump right on into it. You got a couple different ones. Can you kind of cover the variety of XL nozzles out there?
Sure. So I guess to give a little history behind the XL Performance Nozzle, the design goes back to Penn State Gas Dynamics, Penn State University's Gas Dynamics lab. A gentleman, Dr. Gary Settles and his team, originally, SpongeJet had licensed the technology from Penn State University. They contacted us, asked us if we could manufacture the nozzle for them, and that's kind of how it all got started. And so we manufacture SpongeJet's Sabre nozzle on a proprietary basis. What we have done is we've come to market with our XL Performance nozzle. It's 2 inches shorter. But the design concept is the same. We manufacture them in primarily two materials, most popular being our lightweight BP200 Cylon, which is a silicon nitride based material. And then we also manufacture them in tungsten carbide, which with a nozzle of this length, all these nozzles are 12 inches long, the XL Performance nozzles. The tungsten carbide versions tends to be rather heavy.
Yep.
But that is what I would recommend for probably getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but for applications involving like H hardness steel grit specifically, I would recommend the tungsten carbide version.
Yeah, and just from Blue Dog's standpoint, I sell that Cylon way easier than the tungsten, all by saying it's half the weight.
It is. It's a third to half the weight of the tungsten version. It's by far the most popular of the two materials, especially in the XL Performance nozzle design. And as you know, we offer 2 thread configurations. We offer the 1 1/4 fine thread as well as the 50 millimeter contractor thread. which if I can put a plug in there, anybody that's not using the 50 millimeter contractor thread, Sean will be happy to sell you a nozzle holder and get you converted over. And it's a much more user-friendly thread.
We do that little dance almost every day. And I always tell people, my personal opinion, I love the contractor thread. In fact, we did a video contractor versus standard thread that's on the Learning Center and the website there, kind of explaining the difference between the two. And after using both and everything else, I like that contractor thread. I really do.
You know, it's there's this thing that you know, because it's metric and we're American, but honestly, it's a much more user-friendly thread. I've worked with some of the equipment manufacturers and blast room manufacturers and stuff, and tried to get them to when they do new packages to put the package out that way.
Yeah.
And I certainly get on my soapbox with our distributors and such and say, you know, if you're selling them, you know, a Schmidt or a Klemco blast pot or anybody else's, you know, a Pirate or Empire, whatever, you know, if you're putting our nozzle on it, first of all, thank you. Secondly, put it out there with a 50 millimeter contractor thread. Get them started right from the beginning.
Are there any units out there that come standard with that XL nozzle?
Actually, yeah, Kevin, there is. So we provide that nozzle to a number of the wet blast or vapor blast equipment manufacturers. You know, one that you are particularly familiar with, Greener Blast, uses the XL Performance nozzle pretty much exclusively on their units. We provide it to some others as well, one being Graco for their EcoQuip system. So yeah, they you know, for the wet blast industry, they kind of are the nozzle of choice. And honestly, even in the dry blast, we've seen a steady migration of contractors going to the XL Performance nozzles. They're just, you know, it allows them to stand back a little bit further from the blast surface. It provides a larger pattern. It's more efficient with abrasive velocity and energy. So we're doing a better job of maintaining that abrasive velocity and the energy, which is what allows the blast operator to back up from the surface further. And that results in a larger pattern. So, you know, they're able to get more work done in a shorter period of time, and ultimately using less abrasive, because the XL Performance nozzles, the CFM requirements and the abrasive feed requirements are the same as a standard nozzle. So when you're able to get, you know, 30+% more work done in the same time period, you're reducing your compressed air, be it if it's diesel or electric or gas, whatever form of energy you're using for your compressor. So you're saving money there. You're saving money on your abrasive consumption, and also on your labor.
And your lenses.
And your lenses.
Not wearing those out too much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing how many people bring that up when I talk to them about the XL nozzle, is that they're going through far less respirator.
You know, that's not a point that has ever been brought up to me, but it makes perfect sense because they're back further, so they're getting less effective, less, you know, residual abrasive coming back and hitting that that lens. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I don't know if you've seen any of our test videos. This is an unusual wear item that I'm going to bring up. When we go outside and I blast, I'm usually wearing the shoes I wore to work. So I've gone through like 4 pairs when using other nozzles, but just completely destroy them. So I definitely like the XL for that. I haven't had to buy as many new pairs of shoes for work.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nice little added bonus.
Yeah, that's right. Value.
You basically just hit all my points. We can call this podcast done.
Sorry, Sean. Didn't mean to exclude you there.
No, I was going to say, so it's essentially a long venturi nozzle it's just elongated to 12 inches. Do you know any of the science behind that? What if we elongated it? Like, do we see a 14-incher coming out in the future that's going to be even more performance?
So that's where the Sabre nozzle, the sponge jet, which is the true Penn State design, so to speak, is at 14 inches. There is a point of diminishing return. So if you go too long, the sweet spot really seems to be in that 12 to 14 inch range.
Gotcha.
And then there's also the manufacturing aspect of it, because we do, and to my knowledge, we're the only ones manufacturing these in a single piece liner, which means that entire 12 or 14 inch liner is a single piece. We're not stacking ceramic or carbide on top of each other. We're doing it all in one single piece.
Very cool. And I know we covered the different configuration of nozzle thread as well as Cylon versus tungsten, but just to throw it out there, and it really has no meaning or anything, you also have the aluminum jacket and the poly jacket.
Yep, absolutely. So, we started out initially putting these into the market with a full aluminum jacket. And then they have a polyurethane, there's a layer of polyurethane between the aluminum and then the nozzle liner, be it if it's the BP200, the lightweight BP200 Cylon liner, or the tungsten carbide. So there's a layer of polyurethane there to act as a cushion. But over time, because our most popular style is especially here in the US, is the 1.25 inch fine brass thread with a polyurethane jacket. For example, like our TLVEP series nozzles. So people started asking, well, hey, can we get the XL in that configuration? So, which is actually how we do provide it to Sponge Jet. So they take and put an anodized sleeve over it. So anyhow, we introduced the metal thread with a poly jacket version. And then people such as Bob Nash at Greener Blast requested an all poly version, which we are doing with the 50 millimeter contractor thread. And the nice thing about the all poly, the polyurethane thread, is it does not gull. It doesn't, it can be used with any nozzle holder material. Whereas one of the drawbacks with the original aluminum jacketed and threaded version is if you use them with an aluminum nozzle holder, which we don't recommend, chances are they're going to seize up, they're going to gull, and you're not going to get them back apart again.
Yep. Yeah, and we've
it's the best practices would be is do not use common thread materials. So if you're running an aluminum threaded nozzle, either use a brass nozzle holder or a nylon nozzle holder. I guess in some cases there are some steel ones out there, but predominantly the most common are brass, aluminum, and nylon.
Gotcha. And you
there again, and I know I'm sure that Blue Dog offers all three.
I was gonna lead you down that path. We do indeed. In fact, we've covered that, and I believe I have that listed in the description of each of those. Just warning, guys, just be aware of like materials tend to meld together.
Absolutely. It's just one of those simple best practices. And quite honestly, and I learned early on when we were originally doing the original field testing of the XL Performance nozzle. I was at a U.S. Army facility, and made the mistake of putting an aluminum threaded nozzle in an aluminum nozzle holder. And when it came time to leave, we had to get the hacksaw out and cut the nozzle holder off. So it was, it was that or else destroy a brand new prototype XL Performance nozzle, and I didn't want to do that. So we sacrificed the nozzle holder.
Yep.
Yeah, very similar situation with, I don't know if you were there, Chum, we were testing the low pressures with the glass bead, the real fine glass bead in a standard threading. And within 5 minutes, we locked up. We could not get that nozzle off.
Yeah.
A little bit different what's causing that, but I definitely like those contractor threads a lot.
I was gonna say you would have been fine with a contractor thread, I bet.
Yeah, well, I don't sell the nozzles daily like you do, so.
Hey, it's all a learning experience. That's why we're doing this.
Hey, Sean does a great job. In fact, thank you. The latest order, I see that went through, so thank you very much.
Yep. And one of the last orders, we'll give a shout out to the godfather of Sandblast Raw, Jim Dyer. He's got a nozzle headed his way from you guys too. He happened to order one of the sizes we didn't have in stock, so we got one shipping to him straight from your guys' factory. So thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
I'll have to put a picture right over my video feed here
Thanks, Jim.
with this XL nozzle.
Yep.
Before I forget this, let's talk turkey here on this XL. So Sean and I, when we do testing, and a lot of the guys that come in and want to learn more about the XL, they're typically running at 90 to 110 psi. And we talked to another guy in our last podcast that hasn't aired yet, but he's up north. Where was he in? I forget. Cape Cod. But he runs 140, 150 all the time. So I guess
that's going to be this podcast, Kevin.
Yes, it's going to be part of this one.
That's going to be, it's all right.
So what pressures are we seeing the best or the quickest return on investment with the XL nozzle?
Well, so, Kevin, when I do my nozzle training, around the country and stuff, one of the things that the way I close it is big nozzles, big air equals big production. So, the higher the pressure to a certain point, because we are limited as to what somebody can hang on to. Then also we're limited to what our pressure vessels, i.e. the blast pots, are rated at. And but generally speaking, I think that the gentleman, if he's in the 140 range, he's probably he's approaching that peak point. To be honest, there's not a lot of people that are in there. There's a select few or group that are in there, and those are the people who are typically your pretty serious blasters and painters that are able to achieve that and maintain that type of pressure. But definitely, as the pressure goes up, the productivity goes up as well. Generally speaking. Now, there are not to get us off track, but also what plays into that is what abrasives are being used. Because there are abrasives where you can actually, if you're blasting at too high a pressure, you'll start to break the abrasive down just in the airstream before it ever hits the blast surface. Generally, the people that are going to be blasting at the higher pressures are probably going to be using like a steel grit or a garnet, maybe a slag, crushed glass, something of that nature.
Those are used to being thrown at high velocity.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, John, I got a question. Next thing is this, kind of in line with that is we talked about the pressure. What about the distances? I know I'm going to bring it up later, a little thing I read on Graco and their kind of reviews of the nozzles, but they listed at 48-inch distance from your part. Is that pretty standard?
Yeah, so generally a standard long venturi nozzle, we're going to say somewhere 1.5 to 3 feet, generally speaking. The common area is probably around 2 feet, maybe give or take a little bit. With the XL Performance nozzles, my recommendation is to, start out at least a foot, maybe a foot to 2 foot further back than normal. We are creatures of habit, and so blasters are certainly a very skilled group, and so they have they've got Their eyes are trained, they're accustomed to seeing a certain size pattern, and muscle memory and stuff as far as, you know, the speed in which they move the nozzle back and forth, things of that nature. So typically with XL performance nozzles, it's like, all right, there's going to be a certain period of time for the blaster to get accustomed to it, because if they back up, as we mentioned earlier, they're going to see a little bit larger pattern. And then ultimately, as they get more comfortable and familiar with the nozzle, they're actually going to be able to sweep it, to move it a little bit faster as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking with Dennis over at Cape Cod Blasting, and he basically said the same thing. He's able to stand a little bit further away, move a little bit quicker, and actually that's how he kind of regulates his pressure. If he needs to kind of dull it down a little bit, he'll just step a little bit further back and get a little bit less oomph out of it.
Exactly. I mean, there's you know, it's blasting is there's a lot of technique to it, and rather than going back to the compressor or the pot to adjust your blast pressure, he simply accommodates that. He makes the adjustment in how close he's standing to the surface.
Yep.
Which to me is, yeah, absolutely. You know, he's working smarter.
Yeah, no downtime with that. You just back up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and again, I don't want to get us off topic, but you know, we also make what are called double venturi nozzles. Maybe there's a podcast for double venturis down the road.
There might be something.
But you know, those nozzles are pretty versatile. And one of the things I tell people is that yeah, they've got holes through the jacket. They pull in atmospheric air purposely to provide a larger, more uniform pattern. But you sacrifice some energy and with those nozzles. But in those circumstances where you need that extra energy and cleaning ability or cutting action, you simply take your glove and cover up those air induction holes, and now you've got, it's going to act like a standard venturi type nozzle.
Yep.
And similarly, this gentleman, he's just adjusting his standoff distance to accommodate the different circumstances that he's dealing with.
And so they were rating the long venturi, double venturi, the wide throat, the XL, and we've tried, I think, pretty much all but the wide throat. Sean, I haven't seen the wide throat.
So Kevin, the XL performance nozzles are a wide throat.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing would be, and I think, I apologize, Sean, I don't have your history up in front of me, your purchase history. Are you buying any T159s? I know you're buying TLVEs.
Yeah, they're on the website.
The T159s and the SN159s, those would be the wide throat or wide entry nozzles.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're 1.25 inch entry instead of 1 inch. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when they rated those, they had the XL, and I, from all the nozzles I've used, not a blaster, but I've had enough to know that the XL seems to get the best performance for me from what I've been doing. And they rated that 3 out of 5 points, and they had, you know, the long venturi 4.5 out of 5, double venturi 4 out of 5, and the wide throat is 5 out of 5. Your thoughts on that? And it seems that the testing was done from 18 inches away with all the nozzles except for the XL performance, where they were they were 48 inches away from the part being blasted.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I've not seen that specific data, but you know, I can tell you that the feedback that I get from the market is that the XL performance nozzle is provides the highest performance.
Yeah, that's why I took note of it, because it just jumped off the page at me that was the only place I was seeing that out of those 4 nozzles.
Yeah, and again, you know, that's interesting because we do manufacture their nozzles for them.
And that was going to kind of bring me to this topic. And since I'm not as familiar with Sean, and obviously you, Larry, on the different nozzles, I was seeing a pattern of people talking about XL and the Bazooka. What is the Bazooka? Do you guys make that?
Yeah, we do, Kevin. So the Bazooka nozzle came into existence earlier than the XL Performance nozzle. The Bazooka was our original nozzle specifically designed for blasting with steel grit. Back in the, I'd say probably it was mid to late 80s, steel grit really became a popular media of choice with the issues associated with silica sand and such. And so the intent with the Bazooka was high pressure, heavy, dense abrasive, and as large a pattern as possible. So the Bazooka, they're all wide entry, so they're all 1¼ inch entry, but they're also 1¼ inch exit. So at the discharge end, they are also 1¼ inch in diameter, the inside diameter. But so what happens with that is, because of that diverging angle being as great as it is, we tend to lose abrasive velocity and energy pretty quickly. So, if my recommendation on the Bazooka nozzle is, if people are looking for a near white or a white metal finish, then they're going to need to be at least 125 psi at the nozzle. And as we had touched on earlier, with the gentleman at Cape Cod Blasting, he's around 140. That's a select group of people that are up in that range. So not everybody's able to do the 125 psi. And definitely the Bazooka will not allow you to increase the standoff distance that the XL Performance nozzle does.
Okay.
So by far and away, the XL Performance nozzle is much more popular and much more commonplace in the market now than what the Bazooka is.
Gotcha. That's cool. Sean, I don't know if you have anything else on the XL nozzle. If you don't, I definitely want to talk about some, I don't necessarily think they're specialty nozzles, but kind of the angle nozzles, and also the banana, which you guys make the banana?
Yeah, we've got the banana nozzle.
When are you going to make that stupid banana in 1¼ inch?
I got a prototype like that.
Sean's got the mini version. We had a guy in last week that's like, I don't sell many. I don't even know if I've ever sold an angle nozzle. I think I actually have one here. Doesn't matter. But I find that with something like the fan nozzle, Sean and I run this problem all the time. I love the fan nozzle, but you're kind of stuck in that one position where it's angled. However it lands in your nozzle holder, and we're having trouble manipulating the hose and the nozzle around to get that perfect angle we want. And I see that with maybe the one orifice angle nozzles being a problem. Is that something you hear often? Is there somebody coming up with some kind of...
I don't actually hear that often, Kevin. I hear it more often with the fan nozzle, to be honest with you. And
which is weird, because that would only be a 1/4 turn that you have to do, whereas a single angle nozzle, you're going to have to do 360.
Potentially, yeah, exactly, yeah. So, one simple solution, and it's just a quick, easy one, is to put an additional nozzle gasket in there to help you adjust the orientation of the fan nozzle, or an angle nozzle for that matter. Now, I assume they still do, but Arm & Hammer, Church & Dwight, who are the folks behind the sodium bicarbonate, the baking soda media, they had, and I assume they still make it, an attachment for one of their performance nozzles. And what it did is it basically allowed you to rotate the nozzle.
There you go, Sean.
Yeah.
I was going to invent something for that. He kept
Oh,
bragging about how he had
I
ideas.
had the prototype for that too.
Well, so, and I can tell you, we've certainly done work in this area. It's, you know, the abrasive, very similar to fluid dynamics in the sense that the abrasive is going to follow the path of least resistance.
Mhm.
And so it tends to go places where you don't necessarily want it to. And when it comes to rotating parts, abrasive tends to be, it creates problems. And that's what we've always have run into in these situations. But Church and Dwight, the gentleman back then that developed this, it's a relatively simple design, as opposed to using bearings. He's basically using felt in between the two rotating pieces.
Mhm.
So there is some resistance there, but yet you're still able to rotate a nozzle and orientate it. It's not intended where you would be doing this continuously. It's basically, it just allows you to put this in between the nozzle holder and the nozzle, and it allows you to orientate the nozzle, and then in theory you would keep it in that orientation.
Are these angled nozzles used a lot in cabinets, glass cabinets?
They are, depending on what the application, aerospace, automotive, shot peening applications, things of that nature. Angle nozzles are very common in those type applications. They're also, so in a more of a contractor or field type application, the blasting of idea pipe. That's a big market for,
Yeah.
And we make some very specialized angle nozzles specifically for blasting pipe and things. And on the topic of pipe, one of my recommendations is any of your customers that are blasting pipe, if they're able to rotate to spin the pipe, as opposed to trying to rotate the nozzle, back to our earlier part of this discussion, it tends to be much more efficient.
Mhm. I could see it. I could see it being perfect for TT. I don't forget, it was a TT-36, the Empire. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. They use it a lot for, I think, firearm parts and stuff where it rotates station to station. I could see that being a cost-effective way of hitting all those spots where you just rotate the parts around an angle nozzle, and you're going to have a lot of overspray and hitting the sides and probably wearing on some protective liners, but I don't know.
And Empire is one of our, what we classify as an OEM customer, because they are an original equipment manufacturer, and we do supply them angle nozzles.
Nice.
So
I need to sell something that has an angle nozzle standard on it.
yeah, in fact, I've been talking with their engineering group a fair amount lately about some ID blast projects, machines that they're quoting out and stuff right now. So yeah,
Gonna have a metal
nice
finisher
little
angle
plug, nice
nozzle
little
as
plug for
standard.
Empire.
That's a nozzle. I've had people ask me about the angle nozzle before they're doing the interior, the idea of pipe and stuff, but it seems like they're always asking me, can I just take the nozzle and shove it in there? And I've seen the type where they got the wheels that you can slide it into a pipe. How
It's a
far?
carriage.
I mean, when you're using an angle nozzle, we talking just a couple inches? That's ideal for that.
So we make an angle nozzle that's very popular throughout the Gulf Coast region. For it's used commonly used down through that area by companies that manufacture. They're coating the inside of pipes. So before they can coat the pipe, they got to create a profile for the coating to adhere to. And in these particular instances, these pipes that they're doing, they're up to 60 foot long.
Yep.
So it's all over the map. Yesterday I was communicating with somebody at a U.S. Air Force base, and they're looking to they're doing the idea of landing gear on aircraft. And so, they want a 24-inch long angle nozzle. And it's like, well, you really don't, you think you want a 24-inch long angle nozzle, but really what you want is you want an angle nozzle on the end of a 24-inch extension.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like an expensive nozzle you get.
Exactly.
Building them out that long.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, it's literally, it's all over the map. And one of the things that it seems like, the trend over the last few years has been smaller and smaller IDs and holes that people are wanting to get in and either clean or shot peen.
Yep.
So, and as a standard, we go down to, we have one that's 7/16 OD, our Hazel nozzles. One of our former ladies in marketing, she liked that name. She said that was a very Dr. Seuss type name.
It's catchy.
Hazel nozzle, yeah.
Started writing down right when you said it.
Yeah, so it's, are you a golfer, Kevin?
I wouldn't call myself a golfer.
I've seen it in action. I wouldn't call it that either.
Well, so yeah, and I'm certainly not. At best, my highest achievement in golf would be classified as a hacker.
I'm just happy when I don't hit anybody or come close to hitting somebody with my ball.
Yeah, exactly. If I can go through a round without hurting somebody, including myself, it was a good round.
Either that, or I at least have one ball left at the last hole. That's,
yeah, to come into the 19th hole, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So the Hazel nozzle. So where the club and the head come together is referred to as the Hazel, and I never knew that. So when they go to bond those two together, they need to create a profile, and thus that's where this nozzle is used, or was originally used. Was to blast the ID of the head of a golf club where the shaft comes in.
Oh, okay.
So,
And I thought you guys were just mixing like hose nozzle.
yeah, no, that's what they originally were for. But now they've become very popular for aerospace and automotive type applications. And for one example, we put a fair amount of those into the Montreal, the Quebec, which is a hot aerospace area in Canada, and just saw 3 of them going out yesterday for a distributor up there.
Nice.
So, but again, yeah, just the trend has been for smaller and smaller IDs. The request to blast and peen smaller and smaller IDs.
You guys do micro blasting type nozzles too, don't you? I thought I saw that on your website.
So we support some of the microblast manufacturers out there. We don't tend. I mean, we do get into nozzles that are used for etching and carving, more from a decorative type perspective. But we do supply materials and blanks to manufacturers who are in the micro or pencil blast industry.
Guys cleaning up old bones they find in the ground.
Yeah.
Fossils and dinosaur bones, or whatever all those things are made of.
And another one is, the dental. The dental lab is a big market for that. Along with blasting stents, artery stents.
Mm-hmm.
It's another good market for them.
It's amazing where you'll see a mini blast cabinet or even a normal.
It's when Kennametal purchased us, they one of the questions was, well, what is the market for blast nozzles? And it's like, well, and as you both know, because you're in this industry, surface preparation touches on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a broad, because you can go from mass finishing, which you guys are familiar with at Rodeco, the sister to Blue Dog or parent to Blue Dog. You're familiar with mass finishing, and then like right down to microblasting, like you talked about, to, you know, unfortunately, when we lose our loved ones and you need to get a headstone or a grave marker,
Yep.
the carving and etching done there.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
say it's
there-
not even
you know,
not
I
even
tell
surface
people it's-
preparation, because you do graffiti removal. You're not preparing for anything. You're literally just taking off and leaving. So
But they have a whole graffiti removal fleet of soda blasters that run our wind nozzles. And yeah, absolutely. It's
give me their
you know,
number.
it's-
Well, I'll see if they need anything.
it's interesting that I mean, over all my years of being in this industry, the doors that this has opened and the doors I've been able to get through, and the things that I've seen being manufactured and got to participate in, it's incredible.
Yeah, and it's good to hear that things are even on the up and up. You know, we're gaining traction. I know here at Blue Dog, we're selling more and more of the XL nozzles. You said you've been selling more and more of the XL nozzles, and it's kind of becoming quite the trend. And it's definitely something that we've seen. That's why we wanted to do the podcast, because I'll tell you, man, there's probably not a week that goes by that I don't get a phone call that I hear a whole lot about this XL nozzle. Sell me on it, because I can't pull the trigger for $400. And it's
Right.
like, where do we start? You know, so we definitely wanted to get.
You know, and what's early on, and because I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm a believer. If I believe in something, I will absolutely promote it and push it. And so once I had been involved in the early testing and stuff, and said, okay, these nozzles are the real deal. I would offer distributors. I said, okay, first of all, this is not, in the early stages, this is not a nozzle that you just go drop off and leave. You need to stay there. You need to demo it, because we are creatures of habit. So it is going to require a little bit of change in how they do things from the standpoint of backing up further and then eventually sweeping or moving the nozzle a little bit faster to maximize its efficiencies. And but I would tell a distributor, if you go out there and you demo it and they don't buy the nozzle, I will give you credit for it, and then I'll have a demo nozzle in the future. And all my times of doing that, I think I got back one nozzle where the customer didn't buy it. Because
We're actually doing something like that probably Monday, sending out a guy has a 185 compressor, and we've tested the XL number 5 we've done before. It's done great. He's on the fence because it is a lot of money for him, because it is a side kind of business.
Sure.
We said, we got a demo nozzle. We'll send it out to you. You try it out. If you like it, you can keep it. If not, you send it back and give us a testimonial on it. So
yeah, no, exactly. That's great, Kevin, and I appreciate you guys doing that, because, you know, in an example or a situation like this, where this is a second job for him, and hopefully ultimately, you know, it turns into his first job. But the thing about the XL performance nozzles, the feedback I get, and I'd be curious if you guys hear similar, but people tell me that they tend to perform like a nozzle close to 2 sizes larger than what they are. So in this particular case, you've got a gentleman with a 185 compressor. So he's going to be maxed out on what he can use nozzle size wise, but by introducing him to the XL, it's going to allow him to be more productive than he would with a standard long venturi nozzle, and that 185, his setup.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to go. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say that, you know, I mean, ultimately, if they're able to reduce their blast time, their labor, by around 30%, that's a huge number for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them see the price up front. You really have to be. I always say there's 2 types of buyers: the ones that look at price and one that look at cost. You really have to have that cost mentality and give it a shot to see, really, are you saving money over time? Most likely you are, but it's hard to bite that bullet when you buy, you know, you're used to spending $150 or whatever it may be for an hour.
Absolutely. And I, you know, I mean, the feedback I hear is once they get beyond the sticker shock, And they pull the trigger. Payback period is very short, very short. And then and as Sean and I've talked before too, I'm a firm believer. I don't think there's any better advertising than word of mouth. People who use the product and speak highly of it. And on the flip side, there's no worse. If your product doesn't perform and you've got problems, well, then word of mouth works against you. But thankfully for us, we've got a good reputation. We put good product out there, and people speak highly of it, and it's our folks take a lot of pride. They've been doing this. Most of the people, our average tenure at our plant in Traverse City is over 25 years. So they have people. We've got great retention. We got a great team there, and again, as I mentioned early on, our Traverse City plant is built to specifically manufacture abrasive flow control products, most notably blast nozzles and water jet nozzles.
Awesome.
Sean, yes, I was thinking about that last night. Is Sean and I do a lot of testing because when we try to, present stuff through video or post on social media, we like to tell you the advantages of it, but we'd rather show you. But even us showing it isn't as close to as effective as getting that word out as somebody giving a testimonial or somebody trying it for the first time and just giving their feedback on it.
It's exactly. And so we do one trade show a year, or I do one trade show a year, the SSPC show, which unfortunately this February now is going to be postponed until December of 21. But, when I've got two contractors standing at the booth and I'm talking to them and I'm talking about an XL Performance or any nozzle for that matter, and then one of the contractors speaks up and starts giving a testimonial about it, there's nothing better than I'm like going, you're hearing it right from your peers. And so, if this is what your peers are doing, well, as we are creatures of habit. And so I've been in this industry for a long time, and people tell me, I've been doing it like this for 20 years. Why should I change now? Well, the XL Performance nozzle is a prime example of because you can be more efficient and you can make more money.
Yep.
And so this industry is historically been slow to bring change to market, but we're seeing that the latest evolution of our technology has been the wet blast. I mean, if you look at now, how many people are playing in that wet blast market?
It's interesting. Sean and I talk about it a lot. There's we see your nozzles everywhere, and I'm not going to name anymore, but we see a lot of them that get their names engraved on the nozzles and stuff, and
just because it doesn't say Kennametal doesn't mean that we're not manufacturing it.
That's right. But that's kind of like their vote of confidence saying, hey, we're willing to put our name on this product. It's that good. And
absolutely. And, I'm limited as to what I can say because of confidentiality agreements and stuff, but I can tell you there's new nozzles under development that'll be coming into the market. So there again, people look to us to continue to advance the nozzle technology, and we're certainly going to try and do our parts and continue to be good stewards to the industry.
That was going to be my next question too. What the hell?
Yeah, I was going to say that was my very last question, was what's coming in the future here.
Well, I don't know. There's a couple things. I guess one to, not. Does anybody ever ask you for a quieter blast nozzle? No. Okay. Well, there is a demand for that out there.
I think between the compressor howling and everything else, what's a few more decibels? Oh, well.
Right. Well, and where it becomes an issue sometimes is when you have a blast room in a factory or something like that. you've got the people in the blast room who are wearing hearing protection and respiratory, respirator, positive airflow hood, things of that nature. But then you've got people outside the blast room who are also having to wear hearing protection, and they're not even directly involved with the blast operation.
Yep.
And that's an area where we've had a lot of inquiries and things. So we'll work with some folks in that area to hopefully bring something to market here in the very near future.
Yeah, I think I saw you out at Long Beach last year, right? The SSPC.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm so upset I can't find. I know I have the video somewhere. I did some video just filming around, and I filmed your table, and there was a ton of nozzles on there that just looked really flashy to me that I wanted to ask about, and I just cannot find it. They might not have been blasting nozzles, but it was cool. It just I keep thinking about that, and that's why I'm trying to pry out. And what do you guys got coming out in the future? What's
so it's what I've found, Kevin, is the easiest thing. And I've actually had to push back with marketing a little bit on this, because marketing wants to do an elaborate booth and things like that, and I get it. But honestly, when it comes to nozzles, blasters like to put their hands on them. And what I found that works best is simply put that table out there with all those nozzles on there, and just let them come up and grab them and play with them and stuff. One of the analogies I use when I do blast nozzle training for our distributors and such is, they ask, why do you make so many different types of blast nozzles? And I said, well, think of it like this. When you take your vehicle to a mechanic, do you expect them to repair your car with just one wrench?
No.
And that's why, we, say a blaster's toolbox, there should be an assortment of nozzles in there. Every blaster's toolbox should have an angle nozzle in it. Nowadays I would say an Orbit 360 nozzle in it. An XL Performance, a double venturi, all those different types of things. Because every application can require a slightly different nozzle if you want to maximize your performance and reduce the amount of, minimize the amount of time you're spending doing the job.
Yep. Yeah, and I use kind of the same analogy that it's a tool in your toolbox, and you don't just have one hammer. You have a sledgehammer, you got a ball peen hammer, you got a rubber mallet. You got different tools. They're all doing the exact same thing, but there's a finesse to it, and that's what nozzles are: is that finessing tool.
You're not gonna use a ball peen hammer to pull a nail out when you need a claw hammer.
That's right. That's right.
So no, exactly. And guys, I mean, as a manufacturer, we certainly appreciate everything that that you guys do, because you are truly our frontline people. So our partners like Blue Dog Blasting and stuff, we rely on you. Our success. Oh, there we go. Where's O'Malley?
I was trying to get him to jump up without causing too much of a ruckus, but he won't do it. They're just so good. They stay down. They won't even get up even when you call them. So.
Yeah. But you guys are our front line, and we very much appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, and
on our behalf.
We definitely appreciate you, and we're happy to let people know where we get our nozzles. We think that they're great quality. You guys have treated us great. You've treated our customers great. I think we've built a pretty good relationship over the years, and we're obviously increasing that every time we place orders with you. And the ability to drop ship when people do come up and have a specific nozzle in mind, and I don't have it on the shelf, or I just ran out of it the other day.
Murphy's Law is you can order 100 nozzles, but the next phone call is going to be the guy who needs that 101 nozzle, the one you didn't order.
That's right. That's right.
And so, I mean, us being, our willingness to do drop ships and things of that nature, it's just part of the business that we're in. But yet we appreciate the fact that you do stock, and that the majority of the business, the customers you service them from your inventory. And so on that occasion when we need to help you with a drop ship, absolutely. It's the least we can do for.
Well, it's been great working with you. We can look forward to continuing to do so. We look forward to new things coming out in the future. And we're just super glad to have you on the podcast. We were able to cover from the manufacturer point of view. And one of the reasons I really look forward to this one is I know you have the same style as me and Kevin. Yes, we sell it. Yes, we benefit from it. But if we didn't believe in it, we sure as heck won't be doing this.
No,
So
I mean, ultimately, I look at, and Kennametal as a whole, as a corporation, is very big into this, that we provide solutions. We try to make people more efficient at what they do. And so, in the same with what you and Kevin do, a big part of this, we bring product to market, but part of our job too is educating people.
Blue Dog Radio. Get out there and blast. Or whatever. I don't care.